Every peace class is the one that I have been waiting for and the one that I have been excited about. But this is the peace class that I have been most waiting for and that I am most excited about. I know I say that every time, but this is the information that I have been working up to sharing. Tonight's peace talk is called The Mathematics of Peace. A person in peace is far more powerful in relative terms than a person who holds the opposite of peace. In this case, I am using the word powerful to mean affecting or effective. A person in peace affects his, her, their environment more profoundly, more completely, affects and changes than a person who is not in peace. As a society, we have not understood this. We've thought that peace and its opposite have the same relative power. Think of, say, hot and cold water. When we fill a bathtub with water, we notice that when we turn on just the cold tap, the water that comes out is cold. When we turn on just the hot tap, the water that comes out is hot. When we turn on both taps, the water that comes out is lukewarm, about half hot and half cold. Heat in water matches at a unit of 1:1. We have observed this 1:1 relationship between what we perceive to be opposites in our natural world, and we have imagined that peace is the opposite of, say, hatred or aggression, and that peace and its opposite carry the same relative power. But a unit of peace, when carried by a person, is far more powerful than a unit of, say, hatred carried by a person. Let's compare 1 minute of peace experienced by any person to 1 minute of hatred experienced by any person. A minute of hatred or peace begins in the individual consciousness and thereby enters the collective consciousness. In the collective consciousness, a unit of hatred, that 1 minute of hatred, builds itself at a rate of 1:1. It becomes 1 minute of hatred in the collective consciousness. A minute of peace, when it enters the collective consciousness, offsets what is not peace, let's say hatred, at a rate of 1,000:1 or 10,000:1 or even 1,000,000:1, depending on how profound that minute of peace is. Meaning, a minute of peace neutralizes, turns to neutral, 1,000 or 10,000 or even 1,000,000 minutes of hatred when it enters the collective consciousness. What do I mean when I say neutralizes? Let's return to the analogy of water taps. Let's imagine that hot water represents hatred and cold water represents peace. Now imagine that cold water were, say, 1,000 times or 10,000 times more potent, more powerful, more concentrated, more able to change its environment than hot water. Imagine that we could fill a bathtub with scalding hot water, then add 2 tablespoons of this very potent cold water to those, say, 70 gallons of scalding water, and that those 2 tablespoons of cold would turn the water in the tub to lukewarm, and 4 tablespoons of cold would turn it cool, and 6 tablespoons of cold would turn it cold. That is the relative relationship between peace and that which is far from peace. 1 parcel of peace affects its environment at a rate of at least 1,000:1 when compared to what is not peace in the collective consciousness. Understanding this is central to understanding how to build a more peaceful world. There is only one way to build a truly peaceful society: to add more units of peace into the collective consciousness by way of an individual consciousness. That is the only way. A relative few units of peace will offset or neutralize many units of what is not peace when they meet in the collective consciousness. When I use the word neutralize, I want to be clear about what I mean. This process is not about hatred being suppressed. This process is about hatred being felt by the individual, felt, processed, honored, witnessed, experienced, and eventually healed. In this process, the hatred, or whatever is far from peace, is always honored. The hatred is always felt. The hatred is always witnessed and learned from. But with the addition of peace, hatred felt no longer traps us in a cycle of hatred. It no longer commits us to a future of hatred. The addition of peace means that we can feel our hatred and learn from it, and then evolve into a society of individuals who begin to treat each other with more kindness and more honoring. A society in which resentments occur less and less frequently and turn to hatred less and less frequently. Without peace, we feel hatred, and that builds future hatred in the collective. Then we feel hatred and build it, and feel it and build it. We become, as a collective, trapped in this cycle. Only peace can help the collective to witness, process, heal, and then graduate from the cycle of hatred, to learn, to evolve into what is loving, what is peaceful, to evolve into beings that honor all. It is by honoring the hatred, honoring, witnessing, experiencing, and adding peace to this process that we evolve. Where does hatred come from? It occurs when individuals are not honored. It occurs when individual freedoms are not honored. Adding peace is adding honoring. True peace honors all individuals. True peace honors all individual freedoms. When we add honoring, we begin to heal old wounds. When we add peace, we build a future in which all are honored and the freedoms of all are honored. Only by adding peace to the collective consciousness can we evolve from a cycle of belligerence into an era of sustained peace. When we add peace into our individual consciousness, we gift it to the collective, and thereby we gift the potential of a truly peaceful future to all. The gift of peace is not the gift of suppression. It is the gift of evolution. Evolution into a human race that treats all with honoring. A human race that honors the land, that honors the waters, that honors every person's individual freedoms. When we add enough peace to the collective, we will begin to heal old patterns and step from the old cycle. Honoring is more powerful than the opposite of honoring. Just a bit of peace, just a bit of honoring will begin this process. And peace will build naturally when this process is begun in earnest. The revolution of peace does not require many in the way that the opposite of peace requires many to continue to be. Peace requires few. The few hold the power of many and become eventually many, and then all. Peace begets peace, easily, efficiently, and with astounding and dazzling grace. One of the reasons that I have been so looking forward to this peace talk in particular is because I want to make it clear how powerful the work that you do when you come to this class every week is. When I talked about tablespoons of cold water affecting a bathtub of hot water, I actually did the math, and 2 tablespoons of peace neutralizing 70 gallons of scalding water is accurate to true peace math. And that is on the conservative end, meaning if you have a minute of peace that is relatively peaceful, you are affecting your environment between 1,000 to 1 to 10,000 to 1. If you have a minute of peace that is profoundly peaceful, you might be affecting your environment at more like 1,000, 100,000 to 1, or 1,000,000 to 1. That is the relative power of peace. It is profoundly powerful and almost unimaginably powerful. And I wanted to make that clear because when you come to this class and you join together for this group peace meditation that we do in the middle of class every week, you are adding those 2 minutes of your peace to not just your individual experience, but to the collective. And if that is a relatively somewhat peaceful 2 minutes, that might be offsetting 20,000 minutes of the opposite of peace. If it is a profoundly powerful 2 minutes, we might be in the millions. The work that you do, the power of your intention is meaningful beyond our comprehension. It is meaningful and effective beyond our comprehension. So in explaining this to you, part of what I'm doing is making it clear how thankful I am for each one of you and why I'm so thankful for each one of you. Nothing is more powerful than a human consciousness. Our consciousness is the most powerful thing that we possess or could possess. Nothing is more powerful on earth than human consciousness. Human consciousness builds, creates worlds. We are distracted from the power of what we were born with. We are taught that what is valuable must be bought or acquired, when in fact, what is most valuable is what we were born with, and that is human consciousness. We are distracted from its power, but when we learn the relative power of peace, we realize that we have already the most powerful technology that exists, the most powerful world-building technology that exists. We were born with it. And the more we practice it, the more easily we can direct it, the more easily we can use it. We can build a world, a society that honors all people. We can build it more easily at this moment than at any moment in our history. You peacen with your presence, with your peace intention, the world at a rate of at least 1,000 to 1, and usually much more profoundly. And another way to say that is that when you carry peace, you heal the world. You go into the body of the collective consciousness, and with your courageous peace, you heal. You heal. And you create a possible new future that is loving. That brings us to the end of today's Peace class. Thank you so much for coming to Peace class this week. Peace class takes place every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. It's presented by the Philosophical Research Society in Los Angeles, and it is free. You can sign up for any Peace class by going to prs.org/events and by clicking on any Wednesday's Peace class. You can sign up there. Peace class is free. All are welcome. You can just forward the links to Peace class to anyone you know. Anyone can just click on the links and join us. We would love to have you. Thanks for being here today. And I hope to see you in a future Peace class. Our next Peace class is Wednesday, February 10th. I'll see you then. Have a beautiful week.